right?
Yeah.
I have $1,000. I'm gonna buy one thing of eggs for the kids, diapers for the other kid, and an iPad for me.
He legit looked like he was so like tired of like doing
life.
everything. It was kind of sad to observe this person just like 1,000-yard staring just right past us.
Yeah.
Listen, boys, Walmart would do that to you.
Yeah, I agree. He's probably been there for a long time.
It'll
He's been there
break
long
your
enough
will.
time to not have to wear like the what do they wear, lanyards or
Well,
something,
he's
or vest. I think it's a vest. He wasn't wearing a vest.
No, but he was like the phone representative. He didn't work at or for Walmart. He just worked at Walmart, which is the worst assignment probably possible.
Right, you're like a second-class citizen. Like, you don't even work for the company that you're working in.
Exactly. All same, like for certain jobs, but like.
No, yeah, he was definitely like extremely.
What's wrong, Eric?
Why did we start over there?
We just started like halfway through the couple beats in.
A handful of beats in, but that's okay. We'll just run it. It's fine. It's recording, so I'll move it later.
Eric said the beats started late.
The beats started late, guy.
For all of you audio people, you know what that means.
They still won't know what that means.
Nah,
They're gonna be like,
so-
what are you talking about?
The beats started late. Cafe con late.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess
Gotta get it straight.
gotta get shit.
Da-da-da-da.
Hey, guys, fun fact. We just brewed our 100th pot of coffee at the studio.
How do you
What?
know?
Because I had a filter pack of 100, and we just finished it up.
Whoa.
Wow.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, so that
Hey.
goes to show everybody that we're on episode 56, and
been
we've
here
brewed 100 cups of coffee.
times?
Oh,
Oh, because of
we
the
do
because of the break and the Wednesday.
Oh,
and the Thursday, or the Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
pretty good.
okay.
Hey, so what were we talking about? Walmart being
Yeah.
dead inside?
Yeah, Walmart's
this
very
dude
dead.
was- I don't understand how we were talking. We were talking about a lot of things about Walmart. But they got these massive pictures like on the wall, like of just like their stuff, like stock images of like Walmart products.
Apple.
And I was, no, it's legitimately like a bowl of eggs. And it's like a 50-foot poster. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh man. So we go in there. We had this very I don't want to say absurd picture, but definitely like
It was
out of the box
outlandish, yeah.
picture. And we wanted to get it printed, and we're just like, as soon as we're like setting it up, and he's putting it, like he did it online, and I'm just like, we have to go see somebody face to face, and they're gonna look at this and hand it to us. And then we were just like, oh god. And then we get over there, and there was this dude that we met that was gonna hand this to us. He didn't even care. I think that if he would have saw the picture, it wouldn't even have changed his day. Dude, he had nothing. He had the blank stare. What's your name? Last name? Okay.
Yeah.
Like no expression, nothing, just hands it to you.
How old was he?
Probably
Like our
20,
age?
23 max.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm fine.
and I don't think it was any drugs.
No.
I think he was stone cold sober.
I'm pretty sure you should get that kid some drugs.
Yeah, he might need some. Dude, yeah, I was like, because I was definitely like, dude, if anybody sees this picture, they're going to question everything about their life. And
Maybe he did. Maybe he had to pack it in the bag. I assume somebody had to put it in the little folder.
I don't know, it's Walmart. I might have done it himself.
Yeah, fair enough. 6 pictures for $1.70 something,
That's savings.
which is like I felt really reasonable.
I don't know math.
Well, they were small pictures. They were like wallet size.
Wallet size pictures.
So for everybody, again, can't get into the specifics of the project, but nonetheless, we had a picture that we wanted to take,
and put it in a picture.
and we took a picture and we put it in a frame for a picture that we were taking. So like it was a picture inside of a picture.
The original picture-in-picture.
So
Yeah.
if you follow us on other platforms, you'll be able to see the actual details on that.
Exactly. As
he
it
was
gets
number
released.
2.
Yes, basically. But nonetheless, this is the Life Podcast. I am Benjamin. I'm here with Tyler
Squeak it out.
and Eric,
What's up?
and we do this 3 times a week.
For fun?
Yeah. Well,
Fun asterisk question mark?
and the AdSense comes in, but it's not I always used to say, "Oh, these YouTubers, they're being modest. The AdSense is better than it is." It's not.
No, it's not. It's nowhere near. That's very honest people. They
Yeah.
will tell you that right now.
We can share like a medium cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts right now.
Share, exactly.
We may have to pay tax ourselves. Not only do you pay tax on the coffee, you pay tax on that money that came.
Do you get like a 1099 on like AdSense?
I think you would, yeah.
You probably do,
Yeah.
depending on how much you make.
Wow.
Yeah.
1099 for like $4.93.
Yeah.
Even that's pretty modest because I don't think we've hit that either.
Yeah. Oh, listen, it is what it is. You know, these ad companies, they got a tight wallet. They got a lot of places to go. Now it's everybody's a content creator. So why would I pay you more than X dollars? Not allowed to say the amount. Why would I pay you more than X dollars per thousand if I can go right down the street to this other person who has basically the same number of people that you have and pay them this amount of money?
Well, listen, boys, the
capitalism.
gang's
It's
all
reverse
here
capitalism.
on our side anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
Yeah.
No, I'm not worried about the AdSense.
I think we'll be okay.
I think it's
This-
fine.
We do this for fun.
Exactly.
We wake up every morning for fun.
That's an interesting perspective.
Wake the Life Podcast. Wake up every morning until you don't.
Yes. Fair
Going
enough.
on this shirt.
What are we talking about?
You picked it out.
I picked it out, Eric. I just read the list.
And but then you said you liked that one. And I said let's roll with it.
Where there is no consequence for bad work and no reward for good work, there is no motivation. So Walmart.
Hey, that was a good segue, man.
Wow. Yeah.
So-
Really good.
Let me give you like 29.75 hours, so I don't have to pay you 30 hours and make you get insurance.
And
Yeah.
basically. And it's like, oh, you didn't help any of the customers. You just sat in a corner all day and you just like did nothing. And it's like, it is what it is.
Dude, like we were at Walmart. We've been going to Walmart a lot because with this new client, we just have to buy a lot of props. But we were there, and I asked one question to one guy, and he actually answered me. He wasn't right, but just the confidence he leveled. I was like, oh, where can I find blank? I don't remember what it was.
He wasn't right. It's over there.
He said, go down that way 5 aisles, and it'll be there on your left. And I was like, okay. But he said it so confidently and so quick. I was like, wow, that was like the best service I've ever gotten at Walmart. Granted, it was like 8 aisles down or whatever. But it was close enough.
That was basically just like, get away from me.
Yeah.
But he did it in the right direction.
I was at Walmart one time, and somebody still had their vest on, and they were walking down the aisle, and I was like, "Hey, excuse me," and she was like, "I'm off my shift," and
Yeah,
she
right.
just
I'm on
walked away.
break.
I was like, oh, "Okay," like,
Dude, I knew somebody. Like I knew this person outside of Walmart. Like I knew them, and they were working at Walmart, and I went to go ask them for help, and they thought I was someone. They thought I was a customer, and they immediately turned around and walked away.
nice.
And I talked to them about it after. They were like, oh, I thought you were just a random customer. I was like, is that what you do all day?
Yes,
You just wait for people to say hi and you run?
absolutely. Listen, you want to listen. This is the pro tip: how to become a manager at Walmart. Buy a clipboard, put some fancy-looking papers on it, and just walk around all day. That's it. Just walk back and forth through every single aisle, and if somebody says, "Hey," just answer the questions. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, if you're the one person that answers questions,
Yep.
upper management.
Done.
Upper management.
Done.
I don't want to downplay that. I'm sorry if you guys, if any of our listeners are actually Walmart managers, but like,
Get out.
is it?
Wow.
Ouch! You need to work on your people, on your team.
Yeah. Oh, the team. Yeah, big team. Big team effort, boys.
Big eye and team, boys.
Yeah, the idea. The idea that it's all like.
It's in the middle guy.
I really highly doubt, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. I think that the like a solid 70 to 80% of people who work at Walmart do not want to work at Walmart.
I would say so. I don't think I've ever seen somebody like really happy and perky about being at Walmart, other than like
The CEO.
Yeah, not even like the pharmacist over there is even happy. Like, do they hire the pharmacist? They must hire the pharmacist.
Is that an outsourcing thing, or
I
is
don't
that
know.
like a Walmart?
The
employee?
only pharmacist that was happy working there, he was dipping his hands into the
Yeah,
drawers, and then they fired him.
Nice.
But he probably still made more money.
Oh, I mean, at least he was happy.
Yeah.
or comfortable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like to go back to this idea, there's no consequence for bad work and no reward for good work. There's no motivation. So it's
Yeah.
like it's tough, especially with
stagnate.
these big corporations and stuff like that. We're joke around about Walmart because Walmart's a trash company, but like just in general, hey, listen, they fulfill a need. You know, when you need the milk and the diapers and the iPad, you can go to one store and you just buy all of them at the same time, and it's not that's what they do. It is what it is.
That was like definitely priorities right there.
Right.
Yeah.
I have $1,000. I'm gonna buy one thing of eggs for the kids, diapers for the other kid, and an iPad for me.
Good luck.
Welcome to America.
No, I
legit
think
shopping list. Go
I
ahead.
think one of the worst things about Walmart is they come into like these small rural communities, completely buckle the entire like local economy. Small shops, everything just go right out of business, and the entire town then goes to work for Walmart. Because it's either you work for Walmart or you don't have a job.
Yeah. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's just because of their buying power. I've been saying that word a lot in the last 3 days, but it's true.
They got a lot of leverage.
They do have a lot of leverage. I mean, when you have that many, they pretty much set the price. They literally go to their wholesalers. They say, they look at the price that they're selling it at, and they'll say, "I'll give you half of that,
Yeah.
but I'll buy 4 million of them."
Yeah.
And then the wholesaler,
40 million.
Just
Yeah, whatever.
absurd numbers.
absurd number of them,
products.
and then they're just like, but it's this price, and they're like, no, it's not.
No,
And
it's
then
not
just-
40 million.
Yeah, and then what are you gonna do? You're gonna say no to that kind of order? No, you're gonna give it to them, and that's what Walmart has. They have the cash flow to be able to do that.
And the worst part is, I had a friend, my friend Joey worked for Walmart, and they would say like you would have a whole pallet of like water bottles, or like something like water bottles, and say like somebody went by with a forklift and just like clipped one of the cases, and one of the bottles broke in the entire pallet. They're like, throw the whole pallet away.
Yes.
Just throw the whole pallet away. It's like what? Like a whole entire pallet
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
of water.
yeah.
Just throw it all away. No, not like salvage whatever is good, which was pretty much 99.8% of the pallet.
Wow.
Well, it
Go
costs.
go give it to the homeless shelter. Go give it to the veterans. Go do whatever.
Okay,
like,
as long as you're not
no.
throwing it out.
Throw it in the dumpster.
Oh wow.
Nobody can
that's
touch-
not-
Because it
Hey.
costs them more in manpower to sort it and to fix it
Yeah.
than it does to just
And they
buy
would
another pallet.
they would fire you if they would have caught you like taking water.
Absolutely not.
If they were throwing it in the dumpster,
Mhm.
That's
you would
like,
go to like I don't think you would go to jail, but you definitely wouldn't work there anymore.
Yeah,
It's
I know,
like
definitely
it's
not
like
gonna
Amazon. Amazon for a long time had 4 sizes of box.
Mhm.
And you if you bought an SD card up to like the size of an iPad, it would come in the same exact box.
Guys, Staples sent us something at work the other day.
Mhm.
Seriously, actually, well, it's funny I said Staples, but they send a box of Staples,
Oh, nice.
a little box of Staples, and a box like
Oh, absolutely.
this big with like all kinds of paper, and it's like, dude, one little thing.
That-
Well,
that's,
yeah,
that's
because-
so like such a letdown.
You
But
just don't order more than 4 sizes of box because Amazon said, you know what? It's cheaper for us to buy 4 sizes of boxes and only buy these 4 sizes in bulk than it is to buy a bunch of different sizes of box and have a quarter of the buying power.
yeah, absolutely.
And we don't have to standardize shipping. So that means that they can also pre-purchase 4 types of shipping labels and just buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of shipping labels and just slap them on any box that they want.
Absolutely.
Hey, welcome to America, boys.
Yeah.
And then it also helps you with packing, like actually packing
Logistics, yeah.
boxes into trucks, and because then you know exactly how many boxes are gonna fit because you already know all the sizes going in it.
You can use packing algorithms.
Yeah,
That's a fun.
It-
That's a fun branch of computer science.
Listen, we are old school. You want to know what packing algorithm is?
No,
Right? Yeah.
I'm so you guys don't use like computerized systems to say like okay like generate a pack list and like this palette goes in first then that one then you just do it manually.
Well, I don't think you didn't. I don't think you understand exactly what we do.
Oh,
Just based on that question.
oh, fair enough.
It's not that complicated. Where
Oh.
like men can actually like formulate what you're supposed to do in your brain. But I don't want to take up the rest of our time talking about it. We'll talk about it with Patreon.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. We have a minute to talk, but nonetheless, I don't really even understand what you do like as a job like fully. But so fair enough.
We'll get there. We'll give our Patreon subscribers the behind the scenes. If you want to get the rest of that conversation, you can go down to the description of this video, click the link, and sign up for Patreon. Support us with $1 a month. It's better than AdSense, and you'll get the behind the scenes content of every THELife podcast episode, as well as more other things to come eventually in the future. So do it.
and
Now.
we'll be back with something other than Walmart.
Stay tuned.
We would like to thank Anchor for sponsoring and hosting the Life podcast. So who are Anchor and what do they do? Anchor is the all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to make and publish your podcast. And best of all, it's all free. Anchor allows you to use their creative tools to record and edit your podcast. No need for any fancy professional equipment. Sounds amazing, right? And we haven't even gotten to the best part. Anchor isn't just a recording and editing platform. They're a publisher too. This means that Anchor takes care of all of the hard stuff, like publishing to Apple and Google Podcasts, so you don't have to. So what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Another thanks to Anchor for hosting, publishing, and sponsoring the Life podcast.
Yeah.
I did it. I did all the things.
Yeah, all the things. It's like a playground for adults. Industrial equipment is what I'm talking about.
It's not amazing.net.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh, I gotta. Maybe that story is not for the podcast.
Okay.
Fair enough.
It's a second story, but that can be told for Patreon, I guess.
Okay, wonderful.
Benji, Sandra, block your ears.
Jesus.
Yes. What do we do? Oh, Walmart. No, well, not coming in with Walmart. But the idea that we have here, where there's no consequence for bad work and no reward for good work, there's no motivation. That's true. And that's not an automatic thing. And if you're a boss, you might be like, what are you talking about? My workers are just not motivated at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's probably because of one of those two things. If you're not inciting like a legitimate rule set, or you're not giving your workers like due compensation for what they're doing, then they're not going to want to work for you.
And that goes all the way up and down the chain. You know what I mean? That starts at the entry level, and it goes all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're a CEO and you're not being rewarded for what you do other than a paycheck, I think that you'll get stagnant also, and that you'll want more. Because everyone wants to be challenged more, especially the higher you go up. Obviously, you've proven yourself to be someone who likes to be challenged.
Yeah.
So you need that challenge to keep going. It's like, so it's just one of those things where I think it goes up and down the chain. Doesn't matter what level you're at.
I think it's funny too, like, because a lot of kids don't understand or appreciate it. But like one of those things, like say like a company like Starbucks tries to do, it's like, oh yeah, if you're employed here for like more than a year or more than 6 months or whatever, we'll give you like 1 share in the company or 2 shares in the company.
That's okay.
But whatever that is, that's like the incentive of like you actually have like an investment. You have stock here.
Yeah.
So that your job should actually quote unquote mean something to you. And like kids don't understand that. They're just like, okay, I got stocks.
Yeah, absolutely. You got like 16-year-olds working for you.
Can I sell them for a coffee? Like,
can I give you one back and get a free coffee?
Yeah, right.
Sure, kid.
Yeah.
like, do I win an iPad? Like, what is?
But yeah, were you gonna say something?
Oh no! Well, I was going to start talking about Johnny Ives, who left Apple after like 20-something years of
sold
being
his
at
stock
Apple,
for a coffee.
and he was like, "Yeet." And very legitimately, Jonathan Ives could have asked any dollar amount from Apple and they would have given it to him, just based off of who Jonathan Ives is. You know, if you don't know who he is, he was the senior chief of design at Apple. So he's been with Apple since Steve Jobs and since the beginning, basically, or at least the rebirth of Apple. And he was the one who famously designed all of these amazing products that you see, like the G3 and all these old machines.
The iMac.
But nonetheless, yeah, the iMacs and everything like that. And he just left. He went and started a company called, I believe, With Love or With Love From whatever or something like that.
Yeah.
And
That's James Bond.
he just did it. He just wanted to go start his own company, and it's like he could have, if he said, okay, I want $40 million instead of 25, which I think is what he's making or what he was making before he left. They would have given it to him.
Yeah.
It's just he wanted to do it himself.
Yeah.
So he did it.
Yeah. A personal, it feels like I'm sharing a lot of personal stories this week, but that's fine. So the retail job I used to work at, they had like this reward system that they would do, and it was like, you know, you do something good, like perform excellent customer service or go above and beyond. You get yourself I mentioned it before in one of the episodes. You get yourself like an award, and if you get like a handful of awards, that you get a paycheck at the end, and then it grows with time too. So like every like 3, it goes up to the next level. And then eventually you get a watch, and then it restarts the cycle.
Okay.
It's very specific.
Was it a nice watch at least?
I don't know. I got like 2 of them.
Seiko.
They're not that great. But anyways, besides the point, what happened with that, right? So like when I was an associate, like just a regular person, this is a retail store. When I was an associate, I would get those like all the time. You know what I mean? All the time. And it was just like, it didn't really matter what I did. I just keep getting them. And that's why I racked them all up. It was cool. Then I became like a manager for them. And so I was the person who had to give them out. But what had happened was I was giving more out and they wouldn't give me any anymore. You know what I mean? So you get to that level and then now you kind of get cut off of like that award system that like if you, at one point, like you're making like an extra $100 a month. You know what I mean? And it's like not crazy, but it's nice.
Yeah, helpful, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you get to like the level up and then now they're like, oh, you have to hand these all out, which is a great thing, which I really supported. Like I would hand them all out all the time. But it's like I would never get anything with my award system or my compensation was like, okay, now you're at this level. Now we don't need to take care of you anymore. You know what I mean? Now we need you to focus on everybody else. And that was like an interesting shift. And it didn't really it didn't make me hate the job. It was just one of those things where you realize after the fact where it's like, it's interesting where you can't forget about the people that move up. You know what I mean? You have to keep on giving them a reason to want to keep coming back. You know, because eventually those people are going to be like, okay, well, I don't get any type of, the only thing that kind of changes my level of responsibility, you know, and that could be frustrating when you don't get rewarded for the work you're actually doing.
Well, what do you mean you did? You got a reward. You got a little bit of a raise on your paycheck.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a raise, but you know, as everyone knows, a raise gets old quickly.
Yeah.
So you have to be very
Because your lifestyle changes.
Well, it's the same with like going on salary. It's like, okay, well, you work X amount of hours. It's like, okay, well, now it's time you go on salary. We own you. Like,
yeah.
Now you work way too many hours for that little bit of pay raise, but you know you're gonna make 50 grand this year. Like, well, okay, well, whatever, but you worked.
Well, that's dependent. Like that's if I think that salary works for people who are very stringent with their schedules, where it's like no. Listen, I'm doing 40 hours. Like,
well, see, but that's funny. I'm just trying to speak from my industry. Like, if you get put on salary in like the seafood industry,
you're done.
Basically, yeah, you're cooked.
Yeah, you're cooked.
You thought you worked a lot before?
Yeah.
Oh, you work now.
You're averaging 70 hours and you're still making like a 40-hour paycheck, maybe a 45-hour paycheck.
Well, if you get on salary, they're obviously gonna compensate you because you wouldn't stick around if they didn't. But like, it's like, did you want to work 40 hours?
Yeah.
You meant 80, right?
Yeah.
Back when I was in the software engineering world, it depends what type of company you worked for. That's why nobody wanted to work for the small little companies, because whenever crunch time happened, they'd just bump your hour. Like, you'd have to stay until the project was done. With these big companies, they're like, there are 3,000 engineers who are working on this project. If you work 40 hours or if you work 45 does not make a difference to any of us. So it's like...
Which is cool.
Yeah, which is... But still,
that's a different industry. It's funny because it depends on the industry. And then the higher you go up, the quicker they are to put you on a salary. You know, because they want you to be on the clock 24/7.
Yeah, they want to cap you out.
Yeah, and if it's a bigger corporation, they'll compensate you with like you mentioned earlier, stocks. So they'll give you like a percentage of stocks for joining, and then they'll probably give like a discount on buying stocks, stuff like that. And if it's a good company, it might be worth it. But it's just one of those things where you have to be very aware on the industry that you're going into. If you do go into salary, that your hours, that means nothing anymore.
Talking about incentive and just like where there's no incentive for good work, there's no motivation. One thing that was lost within my industry, the seafood industry, like even amongst like, I guess like bottom totem pole workers, we could even say just like use a warehouse example. Like a truck driver comes in, brings his truck. He's an owner operator. He owns his own truck. He has his own freight on the truck. They'd show up, say they're picking up an order from our warehouse, but they have 3 or 4 pallets in their truck that need to be taken off and rearranged so that it doesn't get like screw up the order that he needs them in or whatever. He just needs them just dragged out for a second. It's like a lot of people expect a lot of things for nothing, and the big boys and the old school guys understand that it takes a little scratch to get a little scratch back. And that was that's a big thing. You'll see like the old school guys, they'll still walk in and be like, "Hey, can you pull 4 pallets off my truck real quick, load your thing, and then put them back in? I'll take care of you. Don't worry." When you hear like, "Oh, I'll take care of you," that's I'll take care of you. Whether it's $10, $20, depending on how much it is, it's like there's not a predetermined amount. But if you give the guy who just like hooked you up and helped you out like $10 out of your own pocket, the next time you walk into that building, everybody's antennas are going to go right up and be like, dude, even if it's $10, people are going to they're gonna be like groveling at your feet, like, hey, like, what's up? I'll take care of you right away. I'll get you right out, whether you need a favor or not. And the minute you ask for a favor, they know you're good for it. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna roll my eyes and be like, no, get bent. Like, I'm not gonna, like, we're not gonna help you.
Yeah.
Go talk to my manager who's gonna like cuss you out and tell you off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of guys, like, they'll walk in my industry now, and like most of them don't even go out on the dock to check their freight. It's just like, you load truck for me? Yes, we load truck for you. Get off the dock with your safety sandals.
Yeah.
Like, OSHA's not gonna be happy right now.
That's good.
But it's like they want everything for nothing. When really it takes a little to get a little, and I think that's something that our culture actually like has lost. Where that the old school generation would be like, I get it has to cost me a little something to get what I'm looking for, rather than, oh, I'm entitled for you to just help me out.
Yeah, if the price tag, this is the price tag, this is all I'm paying, and then that's what you're gonna expect. Exactly what it is. You know, you're getting your baseline. But like the person who walks into the coffee shop and all the people working there who know them, all of a sudden, it's either they're the owner or they tip really well.
Well, and that's it. And most people don't know how to tip either. That's the reason for a tip right there.
Yeah.
If you throw your weight around with a tip a little bit, you're gonna get whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really the end. But then sometimes people, like, if you're too liberal with the tip, I don't know where this is coming from, but if you're too liberal for a tip and you don't hit that bar all the time,
Yeah.
like, people are gonna like be like, well, what the hell, bro? Like, your haircut was $20 and you only give me 25,
Yeah,
like instead of 30 that you give me every week, like,
yeah,
that's unacceptable. It's like, dude, my haircut was only 20. It's a tip. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
But people get so used to it, they're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
accustomed to it. But I mean, if you throw that out there every once in a while, it's like, okay, I tip you good. Like, say here it's $25 every week, but then like you went a little bit above and beyond,
yeah.
or you kind of, how do I say this? I had a haircut guy one time. He
Barber.
barber haircut guy, and the guy right before me canceled, and like he just no showed. And he and my barber took me like 5 minutes early. I mean, he really didn't even save time because we ended up waiting for this guy. You know what? I looked at him and I said, I like, hey, this is for that dude who didn't show up. Like, thanks for taking care of me. See you later.
Yeah.
And gave him like
Double.
a substantially nominal amount. That, to look at that, like, they'll look at that next time and be like, anything that this guy wants, I will give it to him.
Yeah.
Just because you threw your weight around, like, that extra $10 that you spent in that moment will save you in time and aggravation and possibly even money.
Yeah.
Over a longer period of time.
Absolutely. I know some friends that work in like coffee shops and stuff, and like they would, when you work in a coffee shop, a good portion of your income is actually through tips. You know what I mean? And they pay you minimum wage, but you get to keep the tips. So you split it between the staff, whatever it is. But there are some like coffee shops that I won't say any names of, but like some of them stopped taking tips, right? And I remember having conversations with people. They were like, "I'm quitting. If I can't take the tips, I'm quitting." They got so adjusted to that level of income coming in because I'm sure they made a good amount of money.
Yeah, now I mean, how do you do that to somebody? You just like cook their entire paycheck. You cut it in half almost.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's something too. Like, you have to be very aware of, like, as a management, and you need to be aware of what you're giving your staff, so that like if you do want to pull something away, you can really destroy the morale, because that was a reward system in a way. You know what I mean? You get tipped for the service that you do, and then I think that makes a coffee shop better when they're able to accept tips.
I don't know if this means anything to anybody, but we were talking about this the other day. Good tip for people who get tips: don't come in and try to butter up and sweet talk everybody.
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
not going to work.
That's
And it's actually
If I'm
gonna
gonna
put a lot
tip you, I walk in with the mentality of I'm already gonna tip you.
Yeah, they're not. Hey,
All you have to do is
hey,
tip-
sweetie, honey, baby, whoever. Like, don't call me honey, sweetie, and baby like 100 times while you're taking my coffee order. Like, just do it good, and like, or like whatever the order is. Like, if you do your job good, I'm gonna tip you.
Yeah. Just the tip goes down every time you say honey.
Yo, I kind of almost have like a tally. Like, it's one thing to like say it like once or twice, because if that's how you speak or that's your vernacular, like, fine.
Yeah.
But there's some people who they lay it on real thick, thinking that it's gonna help them get tips, and it's like, I just want to vomit in my mouth.
Yeah.
We were talking
oh my
about
God.
we were talking about it like in
Oh
the
my
sense
God.
of like tipping has also become like this universalized system, like at least in America, because apparently we're the only ones who really do it. But like it's becoming everywhere, even for things that don't make sense to be tipped. Like it's like there has to be a service provided if you're giving a tip. It's like if I'm ordering something myself and I'm paying for it myself and I'm doing all of the process myself, there is no tip involved. I'm just paying more for this product.
Yeah.
And I think that's becoming more standardized, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something. I'm probably gonna get some looks, but I'm gonna say it because I'm on a microphone
It's
and
fine.
I can, and you can't tell me not to.
And I can't see your looks.
So I've always been like, okay, if I'm gonna tip you, like when you're at a restaurant, what if you're bringing me a plate of food, right? And I'm gonna give you a tip for this plate of food, just because the plate of food is more expensive. Why am I tipping you more? If for the same amount of service. I've always had that question where it's like if I'm at a restaurant like Applebee's and I spend $20 and then I tip 20%, and then I go to this other restaurant and the plate of food is like $50, which I wouldn't go to, but
And I still tip 20%.
and I still tip that 20%, but it's still the same amount of steps, and, you know, and the service doesn't change. And I've always questioned that. It's like if you're gonna be a waitress
Probably
or a waiter,
the skill of the person.
maybe, but
Like it takes more effort to be a waiter at like the Capitol Grill than it does to be a waiter at Applebee's.
Listen,
in theory, but how much more really?
we can talk about that for Patreon too. Bang, another plug, but I'll talk about an opulent dining experience that I had.
Fair
And
enough.
stay tuned. Well, listen, they're our biggest like fans. We gotta step our game up. We gotta be there.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll even tip double. I'll just give you. I'll give your parents a tip.
Yeah,
Like, hey, this is for the waiter. Keep it.
absolutely.
I asked for a Coke. She brought me a Sprite.
It's fine.
Fine, dude.
Same family. But are we gonna do practical life application?
Of course we are.
Ready?
Practical life application.
Yay!
This is getting more and more absurd every single time we do.
Well, that was the first one with you in it, so that's
It
good.
is actually. Yeah, we re-recorded.
Oh, nice. Oh, you're on the bass line?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got him on the bass line, so you haven't heard that yet.
It's wonderful.
Is it very apathetic?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
It's like, yeah. Nonetheless, so practical life application for motivation. One, if you're a worker, don't derive motivation from the people around you. Derive motivation from yourself in the things that you do.
Yeah, if you're not motivated by any aspect of your job, get out and find a new job. If the pay doesn't drive you, and the work environment or the skill set doesn't drive you to advance and progress, get out. Don't do it.
Or if the money doesn't drive you in the way that it can be a tool to do things that you need to do. Like there are certain jobs that I've had over time that it was like, I really don't want to do this job, but I would prefer the money over because it allows me to do other things that I want to do.
Like
Yeah.
my Friday night job.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You know, sometimes there are seasons where it's like, listen, I got to do this thing to get the money to do the things that I want to do because the things that I want to do cost more money than I can deal with without this job.
Oh, and then estimate yourself. Leverage your time and the things you're able to do, and that's sometimes it will shift in the opposite direction, like it did for me, where it's like my time and energy I was spending making money wasn't worth, and the aggravation of actually going to that job wasn't worth staying home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. Money doesn't always motivate you, but it should at least not be an issue. You shouldn't be at work thinking, I don't make enough money. If you're at work thinking that, then you should probably figure something else out and go find something that pays you so that you feel comfortable.
Just make more money, boys.
Just make more money.
Eric and I were talking. We were joking around yesterday, and it was like, I'm not going to be broke and hungry. And it's kind of the opposite of this concept, where it's like, I'm not going to be broke and unhappy. So it's all like, get a job, get a better job. Also, side note, people have this like loyalty to massive corporations for some reason. The corporation doesn't care about you. Again, your manager might care about you. Your manager might really like you, and upper management might really like you at your store. But to massive Fortune 500 company, you are just an employee. Do not have loyalties to Apple or to Lowe's or to Home Depot. You might have a loyalty to your manager, but not to the company as a whole. If you get an offer for more money, realize that it's upward mobility. It's just business.
They would do the same to you.
Absolutely. You have to give 2 weeks notice to your company, but your company can fire you on the spot, and that should tell you enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of people do get stuck in that where they feel, especially the longer you're there. I mean, and I understand you get tenure and stuff like that. And if you've been there for that long, then it is what it is. But like, if you do, like, Home Depot, Lowe's is a great example because I worked at Home Depot once, and a lot of people. It was funny because you would like there were people who would quit and go to Lowe's, and then like you would see like a separation. Like you would feel the tension whenever they came back in, and it's just like, dude, it's just like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know,
It's just a job.
it's just a job.
Our boy at Lowe's spent half an hour trying to tie up that pallet of.
Oh, guy. Oh, we never even talked about that.
What, he was trying to like shrink wrap a pallet?
I think he was trying to rip the shrink wrap off the pallet,
And
and
like tried to like unravel it?
honestly, we drove by, right? And he's outside. He's got this pallet. And he's pulling on the shrink wrap, like pulling. And we drive off, and we're just like, oh, we just happen to notice it, whatever. And there's no big deal. We don't care. We go to the store that's like next door. We're in there for like a half hour. And then we leave, and we drove back by, and he's still there pulling on the same shrink wrap with all his mic this time.
Listen, and we want minimum wage to be $15 an hour.
Exactly.
Like,
This guy
just spent 30
legit.
minutes yanking on the same piece of shrink wrap, failed, and he continued to pull on it, and like the same way too. Like he didn't change nothing.
My
God.
boy,
that's
my
so
boy
stupid.
was still there, and we were like, "Yo, this guy's legit, just like standing out here, at least half an hour, at the very least."
Yeah, that was.
We
minimum.
spent 10 minutes in line at that store. I might
Oh
as
yeah,
well-
yeah. We had a moment where we were standing in line, and then everyone's been there, and the person in front of you just pulls out a checkbook.
And starts counting pennies at the sock.
Like, and who should I make this out for?
I can't find my glasses.
Dude, we were standing like.
All right, I got some more practical life application.
Go right ahead.
Practical life application for the quote, like, when there's no consequence for bad work or bad whatever, and there's no incentive for good work.
Yeah, I don't think we talked
Do
too
you
much about
want that
consequence, but go ahead.
There's no motivation. Yeah, could you pull up the quote, please? Just so we can say it right.
Where there is no consequence for bad work and no reward for good work, there's no motivation.
Consequence for bad work. As a leader, first, you got to make sure that that you're consistent. You lay your terms, you lay your boundaries. You say, hey, listen, these are the consequences, and stick to them. Can't favor one employee over the other, especially at the same position. Like, oh, like so and so can show up late or do a subpar job, but like I always expect the world out of this person because that's what they always give me. That's unfair on both terms. And the person who does less and gets paid the same amount as the guy who does his job correctly.
Yeah.
Well, that breeds resentment. And you don't want to breed resentment as a manager, especially in retail environments.
Favoritism too.
Yeah.
Oops,
Where it's all like, if I'm working with Jeff does 20% of the work that I do. We both have the exact same position in this job, but I do way more work than he does, and we both get paid the same. Then eventually I'm going to both resent Jeff and my boss, and then I'm going to end up doing no work.
Yeah, right.
And then it's all like...
and there's no incentive. Talking about incentive too, one thing as a leader that I do, or a manager or whatever it is, I make sure that whoever's beneath me or co-laboring with me actually has stake in partnership in what we're doing. We talk about things like, I mean, I'll give you behind the scenes right on this episode right here for anybody who even cares and wants to listen. Something like the soundtrack, which will roll out in who knows.
Yeah.
But it's under construction. Out of the 4 concepts that were put together, I purposely left one bare bones as a framework so that we could write it together as a
team.
as a team, so that everybody had corporate stock into it and said, oh, this is mine. This is a piece of me in this too. And really, that's if you're looking for loyal employees, or you want to make sure that your employees really want to stick around and be closer than a brother, you got to you got to give them incentive. They gotta co-labor and shed a little bit of blood with you, and let them know that blood was worth it.
Yeah. Another thing to remember too is I know we're talking a lot about work and like working environments as far as like working for other people, but this is the same concept for when you're self-employed. You have to have consequences in place for when you don't meet certain things, because you are the boss. You can't go easy on yourself, because then
You're the boss and the employee.
You're
guy.
the boss and the employee. You will lack motivation. I promise you that.
Sounds like a bad episode of Fight Club.
Absolutely. But it's very important to remember, because it's very easy to lack motivation in that field when you do end up being your own boss, because it's so easy to say, you know, and then there's no consequence for the So then you do it twice a week and
What was the Eric? Oh, that's a problem for future me.
Oh yeah, that used to be my favorite saying. It was like, that's a problem for future me, and eventually future me bit me hard, and I stopped doing that. But it's one of those things where just because you don't work for somebody does not mean that these aren't practical application you can apply for yourself. You just have to remove other people out of it and have those things. You have to have a reward system for yourself. Like, you have to earn these things. Like, if you wanted to, there was something that I started doing where if I was working hard enough, I would be able to buy something that I've been wanting.
Yeah.
Instead of just buying it because I could, I'd have to earn my way to it.
Well, that's one thing. As successful business people, my parents always taught me since a young age. They're like, you got to save, work, but spend your money. Not like, don't go and spend it all, but don't hurt yourself and break yourself just trying to save. Go and spend your money, because your peace of mind, that little reward that you give you, will give you that incentive not to go and just like one day go on a bender and waste all the money that you do have.
Absolutely.
Like, you say, okay, I'm gonna set a goal. I'm gonna save $2,000. When you get to $2,000, I can go out and I can buy myself. Well, I mean, iPads are kind of expensive now. I can go out and buy myself
you
an
give yourself a
MP3
budget.
player.
Yeah, there you go.
Generic brand.
Whatever it is, give yourself a budget. You can spend 10% of it or whatever.
Yeah, but have that thing. It's like, okay, I have this little thing that I wanted to do, or I want to spend this little bit of money. Like, okay, you save up until this point, and then you can go and buy yourself a thing.
Yeah, and that's very important
Go
to
enjoy.
have that reward system, because otherwise motivation will be lacked, and it's a tough situation to get through.
This is an interesting tangent, but I had this thought of this book called Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, I believe is his name. Nonetheless, the whole the whole premise of the book is this idea that this guy he kills this old lady and he doesn't get caught. So he ends up enacting punishment on himself. And the whole premise of the book, which I believe, at least what I got from the book, is the idea that humans will affect themselves. If you feel like you should be punished, humans will eventually seek punishment on themselves. And if you feel like you should be rewarded, you will take things unjustly because you feel like you should be rewarded. And it's important to realize, like, that's what a lot of people do over the span of their lives, where it's like, okay, I worked so hard, I saved, and then right at the end, they blow everything. Or you spend, and then right at the end, you become this pack rat who saves every little thing in your life. And you see this over society as a whole.
And you become dollar smart, penny foolish, and then penny smart and dollar foolish.
Exactly. And it's important to realize, you have to enact the things in the moment. If you're not receiving motivation from a job, if you're not receiving compensation from a job, you have to do it internally. And that's not necessarily just like I'm my own boss type of thing, but that's like okay, I like to paint. So I'm going to go paint, and I'm going to set aside this amount of time and this amount of resources to do this thing that I want to do, because that's my motivation for doing all the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's so important to remember is the money is there to be spent, and this is very specific to like even for people who work and then you work for somebody else and you're making all this money, like, you have to spend it in a way that makes you happy.
Well, everybody spends it. I mean, take the Benjiism, which is so true. It's like everybody spends money. It just looks a little different. But you spend that money regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. The money's gonna go, and it's just you get to choose where it's gonna go. And so be very wise the way you spend your money, and if you're spending it wisely, your motivation will not lack. You can work that 40-hour week, but the rest of your time is doing stuff that you actually love to do because you spent your money in a way that allows you to do that.
I won't be broke and hungry.
I will not be broke and hungry. That's another shirt.
It's like I will be one or the other.
Listen, boys, we got a paycheck, capital growth.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, and that's. Is there anything else that anybody wants to say as we roll it down? Because I think that's...
Oh, you got something?
No, I was going to say I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I guess I can poke into this a little bit more. Where there's no consequence for bad action and no incentive for good action, motivation is lacking. When there's no there's no incentive to do good, there's no sense of fulfillment, and everything stagnates. When things stagnate in that way, you will breed resentment. Like that, it's inevitable. Whether it started like some people feel fulfilled and some people feel unfulfilled, those unfulfilled people or those unfulfilled employees will spread like wildfire.
Absolutely.
And the minute they start opening people's eyes to how unfulfilled you are, because you've been in that job for 5 years where that person's only been there 2, so they're still kind of learning the job. They feel fulfilled because they learned this new task or they're doing this thing. But when you've been doing this enough time and everything goes on autopilot without any sense of like promotion or management, or I mean, if you don't even want to advance, it's like you will breed such disgusting work habits and disgusting demeanor, like that. That's crazy. I mean, it's really crazy how bad like one disgruntled employee will go and infect all the rest of the employees.
Absolutely. And before you know it, the entire morale of the company is low, and you don't even know where it started. You know, it's just like, but it's like one of those things. I knew people all the time that, like, you know, we'd have their breaks together, and they would sit there, and the entire 15-minute break would be listening to them talk about all the problems that we have as a company, and nothing ever good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's one thing too, because when your hands have been in the dough for so long, like, okay,
You
so
get this, you see it at a different perspective. when you're
right,
there for that long.
and when you're good at your job, or like you know every aspect, so you can do it on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be able to do your job and then feel unfulfilled because you just like crank out your job in 10 minutes. But as the top dog, you could say, like, I mean, you can see this when you have a dog. If you have an old dog, your puppy, if you get a puppy when you have an old dog, the puppy will learn from the old dog. So if your old dog has good habits, it will learn the good habits from the old dog. If he has bad habits, he'll learn the bad habits from the old dog. So the old dog there, they could be amazing, but if they have a bad attitude, the guy who comes in and still learning the job thinks it's acceptable to have the bad, disgruntled, unfulfilled attitude without any justification because he's still learning.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes
absolutely.
sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting. It is kind of like this old like monkey see, monkey do kind of like funny little thing, but it's a very destructive situation if it happens incorrectly. And it's like that's why all of these big companies are starting this whole like everybody's a happy employee here, where it's like that first initial wave is that wall of just facade, so that's your starting position, and then you keep moving forward so that the new employees think that that's what is expected.
Yeah, and if you are looking for a promotion, attitude is extremely important into that. Like, I wouldn't promote anybody with a bad attitude. I don't care how good you are at the actual job. If you have a bad attitude, you need to work on that first. But
All right. So once again, recap. If you don't feel fulfilled in your job and there's nowhere to go and there's no motivation, the money doesn't motivate you, we'd probably advise you to get a new job or to figure out a different career choice and path. Make sure what's bad is bad, what's good is rewarded, and until next time.
That's all she wrote.
I guess I don't need this thing. Thanks for listening to the Life Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, rate, all that good stuff. Come follow us on Patreon. We'd really appreciate the support. You know, the coffee over here, don't pay for itself. And there's the ducks.